What's up, everybody? In my last video, I talked about the ability for churches and various businesses to take their different events live via services like Facebook Live and broadcast that way. It's a way to deal with this current epidemic where people aren't necessarily able to make it out of the house and they're practicing self-imposed isolation, things like that, just playing it safe, and which I think is a great idea. But anyway, what I went over in that video was how to do this with a phone or with an iPad, something like that. And if you have no budget, that's absolutely the way to do it. There's nothing wrong with doing a stream like that. But if you do have a little bit of a budget and you want to make your stream look a little bit more professional and have some graphic overlays and things like that, that's what this video is all about, because I'm going to show you how to go from something that looks like this to something that looks a little more like this. This didn't take much effort, and because it's on this show, it didn't cost much money either. I'm going to show you how to do it now. So like my pal Jeff Foxworthy says, let's get her done. Pew, pew, pew. So there's no way to avoid it. This video is going to run long, and I'm going to go on a long but important ramble here. I just want to be thorough, so feel free to skip ahead. Before we get started, I want to take a minute to talk about what really is a low-cost studio build. Most of the projects that I focus on with this channel are usually very cheap or free builds. And this will definitely be the most expensive project that I've ever covered, because video production equipment is not cheap. Some people who work with professional grade video production equipment will look at this build and laugh, while your everyday Joe will look at this and immediately lose interest due to cost alone. But as you put out a video product for your organization, you will want to make it of, at the very least, an acceptable audio and video quality. The equipment that I'm going to cover in this video is generally considered entry-level, consumer-grade equipment, but it should still be acceptable for anyone who isn't a video snob. When I talk about the cost of this project, I'm talking about frugal shopping and entry-level stuff, some even used equipment. But keep in mind that you could potentially save some money with this build because this is the YouTube age, and someone in your church may be a hobbyist video enthusiast who has equipment that you can borrow. Maybe they would even help with the installation and setup of this project. But going forward with this tutorial, I will assume that you have absolutely no equipment and are starting from scratch. Also, a lot of what we're talking about with this equipment is theoretical. I'm going to recommend a specific set of hardware for this build, but you can also go cheaper or more expensive on any of this stuff. I'm recommending what I feel is baseline entry-level equipment for this build. So to get into the equipment list, you're going to need a PC. I recommend spending around $350 on this. You can pick up a refurbished PC from Newegg that will easily do what you want it to do at a pretty good price. Here's one for just over $200 that would be fine. Keep in mind that the PC must meet the system requirements for streaming with OBS. The more powerful the PC, the higher quality stream you can put out. Also keep in mind that if you are just streaming video to Facebook Live, the maximum quality of a live stream will be 1280 by 720 resolution. So you just may not need a more powerful PC. Next, you'll need a capture card. These will run you around $150. Personally, I recommend the Elgato Cam Link or the Blackmagic Decklink mini recorder. The Elgato Cam Link is much easier to use in my opinion, but for this tutorial I will be using the Blackmagic mini recorder because it's what I have. I was fortunate enough to buy one used on eBay for $60. For your camera, I'm recommending you spend around $160 for something from the Canon Vixia HF series. You can buy them used on eBay from around $100 to $160. I'm recommending the Vixia line because it's the easiest camera in the world to use. It has a microphone port, a flip-out screen, and clean HDMI output. It also has a built-in quarter 20 thread for easy tripod mounting. You do have plenty of more options for cameras. You could use a GoPro or a higher-end DSLR, but you must make sure that your camera is able to put out a clean HDMI signal. I want to take a minute now to explain clean HDMI output. A lot of people take clean HDMI output as to mean a crisp HDMI signal. That's not what clean HDMI output is. You see all of this stuff on the screen here. Basically, I've got this block around my head here, fitting, and I've got this block here and this block here and this block here. This is all stuff that we don't want to be going out over HDMI as we broadcast this out in a live stream. So we want to be able to turn that off. And not every camera gives you the ability to turn that stuff off. But this one in particular does, and that's why I recommend this thing. So to do this, what we're going to do is push this button right here. We go into Other Settings, we go into our middle tab, and Output on Clean Displays. We turn that off. Exit out of here, and now we see that our HDMI is actually a clean output signal. That's what we want, and that's what I mean by clean HDMI. Onto your microphone. You may be able to save money and pipe in your church's audio system, which will most likely sound better anyway. But since I don't know what you have for these instructions, I will assume that you have nothing, and I will recommend the Takstar SGC 598 shotgun microphone, which runs around $26. If you prefer a lavalier microphone, I recommend the Boya BY-M1. It costs around $20. And for the tripod, spend $40. It's nothing fancy, it's just the Neewer 70-inch aluminum tripod. It comes with a monopod built in and a few extra quick mount plates. The final piece you'll need is an HDMI cable. The Canon Vixia uses a mini to full-size HDMI cable. The GoPro uses a micro to full HDMI cable. Either of these cables should cost you around $10 to $20. That should be it for all of the equipment we need, for a grand total of around $700 to $750 if you have absolutely nothing to start with. Now we will get into setup. The first thing we need to do is go to blackmagicdesign.com and download the desktop video software and install it. Now that we've installed the Blackmagic Decklink Mini Recorder software, what we're going to do is go into the Blackmagic Design folder and we're going to launch Desktop Video Setup. So right now I can see that we have no video input going into this. I'm going to make sure that the camera is plugged into the mini recorder via HDMI. I still don't see video input, so what I'm going to do is click on this, change to HDMI, and save. Now I see that it's feeding in from the camera at 1080i 59.94 frame rate. At this point we're ready to set up our camera in OBS Studio. So head over to obsproject.com and download OBS Studio. This tutorial is for Windows because that's what I'm working on, so I'm downloading the Windows file. After it's done downloading, run through the installer. When you go to install OBS, you may get a message saying that you need to install Microsoft Visual C++ software. Go ahead and run through that installer as well. If you have to install the Microsoft Visual package, you will need to restart the OBS installation process. Now that OBS is installed, run the auto configuration wizard and just accept all of the defaults for streaming. If you want to get into the nuts and bolts of really fine-tuning your stream, I highly recommend following Epos Vox. He is the master of OBS streaming. When you choose your stream service, choose Facebook Live. It will ask for a stream key. Go to Facebook and go to the organization page that you're managing these live streams for. Then click on Creator Studio and click on Go Live. A list of organizations that you manage will pop in from the right. Select the one that you want to create streams for, and you'll be given a stream key on this page. Copy that stream key and paste it into this field in OBS. Now it's going to tell you that it's going to perform a streaming test and set the optimal settings for your stream. Just click Yes. You can go back to Facebook and view the test if you want. When it's finished, it'll give you a list of recommended settings. Just click on Apply Settings and you're done with this part. Alright, so now we can launch OBS and we can get in there and set up our scenes and our sources. For this first scene, I'm going to rename this, and I'm going to name this Camera. And for sources, I'm going to add a camera. The way that we do this is a video capture device. I'm going to call this Blackmagic card, because the video capture device is our Blackmagic card that we've set up earlier. So we see device here is Blackmagic WDM capture, so that's what we want. Now remember earlier we looked at the settings of that video and it was 1080i 59.94. We need to configure the video here for that. So this is 1080i 60. We need to change that to 1080i 59.94 and apply it. But we're still not getting video back here. So what we actually need to do is change the resolution, frames per second type, to custom. We're going to change our resolution here to 1920 by 1080, and now we have a very poorly lit image of me here. So we're going to leave the rest of this the same. Now as you see, it also added an audio source, and when I speak, what's happening is it's picking up the audio from the shotgun mic that's plugged into the camera right now. And this shotgun mic is about a foot away from me right now, so that's why this is peaking up in the red. We don't actually want that. Now what you want to do is set this audio to about anywhere from -15 to -10. And the way you can check that, you can do a couple of test recordings by just you can hit start recording and then check those videos later. By default, your videos are going to save in your My Videos folder. You don't have to change that if you don't want to, but if you do want to change that, you can go to Settings, you can go to Output, click on the Recording tab, and you can change that right here. Also, by default, the recording profile may be set to MKV. If you're not sure what kind of video you want to record, you can change that to MP4 here. MP4 is a pretty universal file standard. That's what I normally set this to. Earlier when we set this up, in Settings, in Stream, for Facebook Live, we entered our stream key here. We shouldn't need to make any changes there. That should just always save. To do a test stream, we can go to the organization page that we manage. Click on Creator Studio up at the top. And then over here to the right, click on Go Live. It's going to bring up a list of all of the organizations that we manage. If there's only one, that's all you would select. But for this, I'm going to select the Lodo Tech Show. Over here, we can title the video. We can put in a short description about the video. But over here, we can see the status of our video that's coming in. To make it full screen, we hit this. To minimize it, again, we hit this. It says waiting for live video. And you go back to OBS Studio, and we need to click on Start Streaming. Now back in our Facebook feed, we should see our live video down here. And we do have the option to publish this as a test broadcast. That's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to click Publish as Test Broadcast. That way only I will be able to see this. I've got this set up as a test. I'm going to start test. If this is not set up as a test, it's going to say Go Live now. When you click Go Live, your audience is going to start getting notifications about this. So I'm going to start the test. What's up, everybody? This is a test broadcast that I'm sending out to Facebook Live. I'm going to kind of ramble here for a little while because, as you'll see in this recording of this test broadcast, the video is probably going to look a little bit grainy in the beginning, but as the video plays out later on, it tends to smooth out as the longer that the video plays. So bear with me here for a little while as I ramble and as we check out this video. What I want to get into now is we've got our camera set up, but let's say that we want to add some lower thirds and things like that into this. We want some graphics down here, and we want some informational things. We want a ticker. We want, things like that. So what we can do is we can add, we'll add an image here. I'm going to call this Blue Gradient. This is something I use a lot in my videos. I'm going to browse to my show assets. And now I've got this big blue block covering up the entire scene. I have a couple of options. I can drag this down and reposition it. Also, I can grab the actual camera, move that around and reposition it. but I don't want that. I never want that. So what I'm going to do is lock that source. So now I can't, I locked the wrong source. I've locked the camera now, so I can't move that around. And I've got the blue gradient locked. I can't move that around, but I'm going to actually unlock this, and I'm going to move this around to where I want it. And for a lower third, I don't like super big and chunky lower thirds. I would put it there, something like that. Now what I've done here is set this up like this, and I've got the image hanging off the screen. What I'm actually going to do is pull this back up into place. And if you ever get something out of place and you don't like where it's at, you can right click, go to transform, reset transform. But I'm going to push down on the Alt key now and grab one of these handles. And now I can resize this as I see fit. I can make it more sized like that, and I can put some text in here. Grab that and move it slowly. We can put this in here. We can add a second line of text if we want. And maybe I want to add like a show logo. So I can go again to image. I can, here's my show logo. I'm going to put that in there. And as you can see, this image is transparent. This image has some transparency to it. It's because it's a PNG file. Keep in mind that JPEGs cannot have a transparent layer. So now that I have all of these things put together, what I can do is go in and I can lock the gradient, I can lock all of these, and I can grab all of these items, the gradient, the text, text2, and the image for the logo. I can highlight all of them, and I can click on Group Selected Layers, and I can call this now. When I roll this arrow up, it just keeps everything a lot neater. And if I grab this and move it around, it moves the entire lower third as a package. Pretty easy, pretty simple to do, and it gives it a nice professional look. Now, if you're doing like a church broadcast, you can have your website in here. You can have your, if you're taking donations for your church, for anything like that, you can have your PayPal information here. You can have your Patreon if you use that. You can have Venmo. Basically anything like that, whatever you want to do with that. So let's say that I want to switch between having this on sometimes, this lower third, I want to have it on sometimes, and I'm going to lock that. And now I'm going to just copy this. I'm going to duplicate this. And I'm going to come over here and rename this just camera. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to remove this lower third. So now I have that not on here, but if I want to switch back to that scene, I just click on this, and you can do this while you're broadcasting. Nothing to it. So we can do if we do a live feed, we can click on just the plain camera, or we can click on the camera with the lower third, bring that up, and you can build more scenes in here. We could do, maybe we want to do something where we want to, I'm going to go in here, copy this, I'm going to paste that in there, and maybe we want to do something where we do somebody is making commentary on something, and you want to put a news article or something over here. So maybe I want to do something like this. I want to take this, I want to get into this lower third, I want to copy this blue gradient, and I want to come back in here and I want to add this and put this underneath here. And maybe I want to put some kind of border around my video, so I can go in here, add another image. I'm going to call this one white gradient. I'm going to select my white gradient, open this. I'm going to, again, hold. Well, first I'm going to put it underneath my camera feed. I'm going to hold Alt and grab these handles and resize it as I see fit. So I got this image of Jeff Foxworthy in my downloads, and I want to put a quote of him saying, "Get her done." So I can grab this, resize it, move it here, and then I can add more text under that. Now I've got these scenes set up. I can open with my camera that is clean with no lower third over top of it. I can then basically throw out some informational stuff with the lower third, and then when I get into the topic that I want to talk about, in this case being Jeff Foxworthy, who says "get her done," basically we've got this ready to go where I can talk about that. So setting up your scenes, it can be a little bit tedious, but once you've got it all set up, I mean, there's really nothing to it. You've got a lot that you can do with a show.